Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to another FitLight webinar. Today, we're going to talk about the neuroscience of decision making. It's the science behind the lights. We have another seminar planned in New York City on April 2nd of 2022. We're very happy that our very own neuroscientist, Luisa Nicola, is on board to talk about the science behind the lights. And today, we're going to talk a little bit about what that is going to be like. Thank you very much for joining us today, Luisa. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much, Rob. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited. As Rob mentioned, I'm the resident neuroscientist at FitLight, and we are so excited to go into next year and do our certificate with everybody. As many of you know, we've already done one before, and it was absolutely amazing. And now we're going in for round two, which will be in New York City, as Rob said, and we are so excited to meet everyone there. So this webinar is going to be focused on, it's going to be a very short introduction into some of the things that we're going to be talking about at the certificate. So please feel free to write in questions or write to us if you have anything that you want to talk about. But this is going to be really exciting. Rob, let's get started.
All right, I can't wait. Come on.
So we're going to be going through specifically the brain-body pathway, which is actually module 1 of our certificate. And we're going to learn a bit more about why this is something that we need to be learning and how we can incorporate FitLight into training this, not just for athletes, but for every person. So I'm going to start off with a patient X profile. Now, and this is actually a real case, Rob. So I had a 30-year-old NFL wide receiver, NFL defensive lineman, I should say. And he came to me, and when we, looked at his, we assessed him, he said he's had 10.5 sacks in the first 2 seasons. He's had 3 concussions, which in the NFL, this is something that occurs quite often. He had some rehab. He was just coming off a knee injury. And in 2020, he accomplished 3 sacks. So he's been playing for about 7 years. He started off with 10.5 sacks. And then after his concussions, obviously he was getting a decline in his performance. He only achieved 3 sacks. He was upset. He was fear of getting benched. He was having trouble at home. So his performance at work or, on the field was declining. His performance at home was declining. He was declining in his training, and he wasn't sleeping well. And he was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where to go. I'm trying everything. So he consulted with his staff. He went and did more rehab. He trained harder. And when all else failed, he prayed. So these are all the things that this NFL player did, and he didn't seem to be getting any good results. So when he came to me, I assessed him neurologically, and I found a basic dysfunction in his reaction time, his memory, and his information processing. And this is probably because he's had 3 concussions, and this is just what happens. And what happens in the NFL is a lot of the trainers aren't equipped to training the brain. And so when he came to me and I saw these things, reaction time, memory declining, information processing speed declining, I put him on a protocol which involved in every single session using the FitLights, and we got him back up to speed. And I think I wanted to start with that because this is one of the most crucial points that we need to be, putting out there when it comes to FitLight is these lights are not just lights. They are they're smart tech. They're smart neurotech. And if we can learn how to adapt these lights into training, you're going to be getting faster results. You're going to be getting sustaining results. And you're going to be getting more results than if you were to just train an athlete and train their body, which is what most of the population is doing now. So when it comes to the brain-body pathway, there's one crucial thing that we're going to be going over in the FitLight certificate, and that is the nervous system and how the body communicates, or how the brain communicates with the body, and then also how the body is responding to the brain, because we've got these 2 pathways. They're bidirectional. They go down and they go up. And without getting too technical, this is something that we really need to understand as clinicians. If you are a clinician and you're watching this, this is something you really need to understand. So when it comes to the nervous system, and Rob's come to the seminar, obviously, and we've been through this, so this is not new to him. But when we look at the nervous system, guys, we know that the nervous system is made up of two things, and this is really important for you to understand. It's made up of the central nervous system, and it's made up of the peripheral nervous system. Now, the central nervous system is just the brain and the spinal cord, but the peripheral nervous system is all of the nerves that flow off the spinal cord and go into the peripheries. So in the peripheral nervous system, we've got the motor pathway, we've got the sensory pathway. And Rob, this is that bidirectional thing that I was talking about. So the motor pathway is when your brain commands something to the body. So for example, when you want to kick a ball, there's more to it than just that. Or when you want to throw a ball, there's more to it than just throwing. Basically, the pathway that happens is a message is sent from your brain down the spinal cord to either the lower motor system, which is the legs to kick the ball, or the upper motor system, which is the arms to throw the ball. And when we're looking at FitLight and we're looking at the speed of this nervous system, like how can we get our player to make a faster kick or a more precise kick? These are the things that we can be training using the FitLight system. And these are the things that you're going to be learning in the seminar. And then when we look at the peripheral and the sensory nervous system, we're looking at how, if we trap a ball with our legs in soccer, for example, how do we do that? Well, we know that we sense something through the eyes, and that sensory information comes up into the brain. So that's the ascending pathway. And I know we're getting technical, but I just wanted to show you guys a bit of a glimpse, because the information that we provide in this certificate and in this seminar is something that is, I think, really profound. You don't really get this information unless you go to medical school or you go to do a neuroscience course, which is what this is. So on the left side, just over here, guys, you'll see the motor pathway. And we're going to learn this in the seminar, but basically this here is your motor cortex, and when they want to command something, they send a signal from this area down into the spinal cord. Here we go into the lateral part of the spinal cord and comes out into the lower motor neurons, and it commands this part of the body to kick a ball. And one of the most important things for everybody to know is that the left side of the brain controls the right side of the body, and the right side of the brain controls the left side of the body. And this is important in training. And we really need to understand this so we can connect the two and become more proficient in our training. So the sensory pathway, Rob, is something that is a bit different to the motor pathway. Like I said, it's ascending. So it starts in the peripheral nervous system. It starts, it's like you may step on a nail, for example, and that sends signals, pain signals from your feet all the way up the dorsal root of the spinal cord and up into the brain, and it senses something here in the somatosensory cortex, which is behind the motor cortex, and it tells your brain, ouch, that hurt. So these speeds, Rob, that's what we're really concerned with when we're training an individual. That's the thing that I'm trying to make with all of my athletes. I'm trying to make them faster. And these two pathways is what we call reaction time. Like, how fast can you react to a ball? How fast can you react to a stimulus? How fast can you throw a ball? And not just fast, but how intelligently and precise can you throw that? You got any questions?
Speed, Louisa, you mean how fast it can go up and down?
Yeah. And that's what I do, Rob, with all of my athletes. So I'm just interested. I'm not the trainer. I'm not the technical director. I'm not the one who's saying, okay, we need this is how you need to kick the ball. No, I'm not that person. I'm just interested in the nervous system. And that's what I want everybody coming to the seminar to know. I want them to be aware of what increases speed, what decreases reaction time so they can become faster, and how their memory is going to play out in this. And this is all to do with the nervous system. So before I go into the next slide, I did some, Rob was he came to me and we worked with him on understanding how he can become a better tennis player. We're going to watch this. We're going to watch this short video 2 or 3 times. And Rob, I want you to tell everybody like how you felt when we were doing this. So let's watch it.
Well, as people can see, I have difficulty keeping my head up while bouncing a ball. For me, it was a difference in using my left hand and right hand and deactivating the light at the same time. At times, I was just focused on deactivating the lights. Usually when I did that, I thought that I was more so, when I actually deactivated the light, I was more so focusing afterwards on the light. When I missed a ball, when I bounced it, after that for a while, I was focusing more on bouncing the actual ball.
So that's really good, Rob. I want to show it again because I just want everybody to know what I'm doing with you. So guys, Rob, one of his sports that he does is tennis. And when we look at tennis, there's a number of different things we need to take into place when we're even looking at the brain-body pathways. And Rob came to me and said, Louisa, I just want to become a better tennis player, not from a technical perspective, but more so from a reaction perspective. Because I remember you saying, Rob, that you said as you're getting older, you feel like your speed to react to the ball is a bit diminished. It's getting a bit slower as you get older, which is completely normal. And you wanted to be able to see the ball from further away. Is that correct?
That is correct, especially after a day's work where I'm mostly behind the screen, like now. I would have difficulty, especially in the beginning of a match, the trajectory of the ball, things coming towards me. Positioning myself on the court, I guess.
Yeah. And so what you're seeing here is I'm starting him off with one light, which you guys can do as well. But when we're looking at Fit Light, one of the things that we really need to be taking into place is we want to not bombard the athlete firsthand. We just want to start them off with one light. So all I'm doing here is getting him to deactivate the light. Okay, it's flashing, deactivated with left hand and right hand, and also catch the ball. So there's so many different things happening in his brain. He has to be aware of catching the ball, and even if he looks down, then he might miss the light. So this was a tough exercise, but over time we just keep adding lights to it. We keep adding balls, and he gets faster and more proficient, and this then translates into game day performance. So Rob, I was thinking maybe right now we can answer some questions about the certificate itself. So yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So I was going to say, when we go into the certificate, are we also learning more about the actual Fit Light? Like I believe there's a section in there called the anatomy of the Fit Light, right?
That's correct. It's basically the second half of the day, or second quarter of the last quarter of the day, I'd say, where we're basically going to implement the science behind the lights into how does that translate to actually creating Fit Light drills right there on the spot. And as you mentioned, we'll show that you don't necessarily need 8 or 10 or 12 lights. With 1 or 2 lights, you can do a lot already, and that's really what we want to emphasize in the seminar.
And do you have to have Fit Lights to come to the seminar?
You do not. However, there will be a discount, obviously, for everybody that does not have their system. We do encourage to bring your system, but there will also be somewhat of a group activity. So we'll group 2, 3, 4 people together, and basically they need one system to work with right there. But obviously we would encourage to bring your own if you want to program anything on in your own app right away.
Yeah. So we're now when we come to the seminar, also do you have to have known how to use the FitLight, or can you just come as a fresh start and get everything on the spot?
Both. What we'll do is we'll show how easy it is to create new drills. If you already use FitLight, then you know that we have a quick start where you can really set up the lights very fast and start working with them. If you want to do a little bit more in-depth programming, that is something that we will discuss, and we'll show you how easy it is. The good thing about the last seminar, I think, in my perspective, was that there were so many different people together, whether they were doctors, they were personal trainers, coaches, and everybody had their own view on how to implement the lights into their day-to-day training. And that combined, for me, that was the best part, to see how people were working together and came up with some really creative ideas.
I was about to ask that. I was about to say, do you need to be a personal trainer to come to the seminar? But you can be anything, really. Doesn't mean
you can just be a sales manager like I am and still have a great day.
All right. Well, Rob, I'm so excited about this, and I hope everyone else is too. If you have any questions regarding this, please send them through. We are so excited to meet everybody in New York in April.
Please keep an eye on our social media. We'll obviously communicate the location, the way to sign up, and obviously we'll keep everybody posted on all the COVID protocols that might be in place. So yeah, again, keep an eye on our social media. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And we can't wait to see you in New York.
Thanks, guys.